Everyone, pipe down. It is Super Bowl Saturday, and we're with Andy Andrist. We just viewed the footage of the ambush of Andy's child molester.
Alleged. No,
alleged.
No more? Is it?
You don't have to say.
He was a
that.
molester.
Okay. Yeah, no. Yeah, I touched my dick a lot. Yeah. Okay.
Also joining us is our attorney.
Yeah, we found him by we woke up on a bench and we saw this face on the bench. It says, "If you need a lawyer." His face, and we go, let's call that fucking guy.
All right, you told me it was a billboard.
Oh, okay, billboard.
Right, here's the backstory quickly, is Andy Andrist, one of my best friends and fantastic
Last night
comedian.
You did say best friend, but anyway.
BFF, what did I say? Andy
know.
was molested when he was a young man, 13, 14-ish.
Young boyish.
In the late 70s. And Andy tracked down his molester in Florida, found out where he lived, and decided he was going to pay him a visit. So I, of course, jumped on board. And we just watched the footage. We confronted him on a 2-camera shoot on a ruse that I had information that I needed to talk to him about his adult daughter in
his
college.
Alleged daughter. I don't think he could get it up, yo. But anyway.
Yeah, so we confronted the guy, and we just watched the footage again, and it's amazing how moving it still is. Like I was still watching that happen. The guy, we still won't mention his name just for safety right now.
Mr. Liver. Let's call him Mr. Liver.
Mr. Liver.
Can we call him Mr. Liver?
After we confronted him on tape, and he did not deny he molested Andy, he apologized for it.
He didn't say he enjoyed it either. But I know he did.
And this footage will be released. Give it a working title.
Fine.
Give it a, because we don't
Groomed.
groomed.
You can call him the bad
Rooney.
boy.
Okay.
The lesser Rooney.
Also joining
I like
us
that
is
one.
Chris Castles. He was the guy filming. So we got this on tape. The molester brought his Filipino wife and a cop because he was suspicious.
That's the way he rolls.
And, of course, as soon as he apologized for what he did, the wife falls apart. The cop's going, holy shit. It's the cop was even saying, yeah, he does deserve an ass beating on the tape.
yeah, he did.
So we get the footage. We're all happy. We're high-fiving because Andy has been talking about this guy for years, and he's made jokes about it in his act. He's talked about, I was molested as a kid, and the guy had hand braces. I could have just walked away. I don't know if I'm queer or I just like helping people.
Because I was a child underwear model with questionable ethics. It took me years to realize the photographer's ethics were askew. You know how, like, you lose touch with an old girlfriend, somebody you just let it drop? I'm not that guy. I kept on him. I Google searched, like, where is this guy? He violated my swimsuit area in 1978. And I want my innocence back.
For me and Andy to be there and actually see this guy and have him collapse and I'm sorry, I'm not going to comment. I don't have a lawyer. Like who says that if you're fucking not guilty?
Yeah. If you're in Florida, you should have a lawyer always.
So that was a victory for us, and even the bartender bought us a bottle of champagne.
And he gave me a joint, and then he got fired.
The clip is available.
So
45 minutes, huh?
A couple weeks later, or a month later, we get served with an injunction. You tell it. Now lawyers speak.
But don't get too lawyerly because we only have 45 minutes. It's not a billable hour, by the way.
I'll dumb it down for you.
Jay Kirschner.
So he filed what?
He filed a lawsuit suing both you and Andy for a bunch of civil counts that would cost you a lot of money if he won it. And in addition, he sought an injunction. That's the way you were looking for.
But we were served only for the injunction.
We got served a half a summons.
Even though they had the lawsuit filed in St. Lucie County, and they had an injunction, they paid a process server to serve both Andy in Eugene and Doug in Bisbee, Arizona.
212 Van Dyke
which
Street,
is
Bisbee, Arizona.
Anyhow, they got the injunction which it stopped Andy and Doug from talking to anybody about any part of this guy who had molested Andy and gotten away with it 30 years ago.
Not only released the footage, we couldn't even speak his name out loud.
It would have been the equivalent court-wise of having him touch my dick again. I think losing it.
So we, on the advice of our attorney, flew immediately to Florida to answer the injunction, and then there was a tete-a-tete between our lawyers.
Talk about that.
Now, Andy had talked about this on a podcast earlier, and their lawyer was using that. Here's the story. When Andy was molested as a teenager, the molester said, when you graduate high school, I'm going to buy you a car. So the running joke has been, I'm going to go find him and go get my car. I want a Prius, too. I don't want a 1978 car. I want an updated car.
Yeah.
So it's a joke. But they're using that, saying we're trying to extort them. A guy I flew from Arizona. These two flew from Oregon. And Frank came down from Montreal, Canada, all spending thousands of dollars in travel on a whim that we might get a car.
That's how
that was their lawyer's argument. So the judge says, "Well, I want to listen to that podcast." Our lawyer says, "According to whatever law you cited, you're good."
Yeah.
He says, "Hey, I want you to listen to the whole thing because Andy's a fuck up, as you can hear from this."
Bullshit, alleged fuck up.
He says, I'll listen to the whole thing, I
victim.
promise you. And then a week later, the injunction is dropped. They try to serve us with contempt. Anyway, we won on all counts. And now the footage can be released.
And it's available on andyandrist.net. You can watch the teaser for the film that is currently
the film that is being
production.
made.
Doug, by the way, if anybody wants to, they can go to the St. Lucie County, Florida clerk's office and actually look at the pleadings, which tell a lot of
In the
stories.
motion to
Does that
dissolve
have
the
my penis in
injunction, our lawyer had Andy put in all the graphic details of what this guy did to him.
It was like writing Penthouse Forum, only worse. I never thought I would be dictating this note to my wife. And how many times can you say penis? I mean, it was like a fucking one-eyed snake, or Jimmy the Love Monster.
Can't really put that in a court document. So let's back
that's
up.
probably
Let's
true.
back up to the beginning and tell the story. Let's just call him Pat.
So
We
what do
can
you
be
want?
Sued by any fucking Pat
the
in
origins
universe.
of the.
Okay, so your dad is sharing a room in a VA hospital in California. And this guy is he takes a liking to you, and you go help him with his video business, and then it's creepy massages, and the gift buying, the fucking eventually the buying, like we watch, like he ruined shit, like fucking sex, and he'd show me porn, and he ruined porn. What? Andy,
All
slow
right,
down.
Go ahead.
Tell the story.
He
would.
It's all in
he
court
was
document.
grooming you.
Sure, there was all
And
that.
he'd give you massages. And then
Sure, and reach in my pants and try to. I don't know if he couldn't jerk me off or he just wasn't good at it, but he would reach and grab my dick and his limp. I think he was recovering from injury, so maybe he couldn't form a fist. But it was molestation and creepy, and I couldn't get away really because I was there for the weekend.
And this happened over a course of years.
Yeah, I kept getting return gigs.
He was like an uncle, but he took an interest in me, and I had 4 older brothers. My dad was in a wheelchair. My mom was a caregiver for my dad, so he kind of filled a void, and like all of a sudden I'm with someone as a parent type figure who's taken me to places and stuff, to movies, to theme parks and stuff, but and then he would buy me these sweatsuits and various things, so I was like, in a way, he was just like, the term is grooming or whatever, but he was just like buying, I was his little girlfriend.
How old were you?
It started. It's the first time I met him was like I was a 5th grader, but he got me down there for the first trip. I was a 6th or 7th grader that summer, maybe. And he was an ugly fucker, huh? Did you see the tape? Jesus.
And he got away with it.
Oh yeah, no, that's the way it is because nobody really, just from what my experience of going, yeah, this guy molested me 30 years later or whatever. I've been called a lot of things in papers.
Well, and to make sense of some of it, his mother was a caregiver for his father, and you were one of 5 sons. And so it was convenient because it was like, oh, maybe this is a good opportunity for my son. I can't be there for him, so that maybe he's going to learn some skills.
Well, I did get
paid, and so it
too.
made sense to the parents, and he really preyed on that vulnerability. I mean, that's what I get from it.
Yeah, kind of. That's what pisses me off on that level. Is like, wow, I was fucking Kenny from South Park. You know, this dude just spotted our desperation, and then I was the one that looked best in hot pants.
Well, you say you did get paid. He paid you with a jogging suit and gifts.
No, he paid me money to help him with his videotaping business. I mean, that's what I go. Well, my dad just goes, I'll get school clothes or whatever, and I did get school clothes and lots of fucking
So your
bad.
dad wasn't.
I think
it didn't raise any red flags because you were allegedly working for the guy, but it was
right.
basically hush money.
Yeah. He'd give me $100, and that was part of the payment for the videotape. As I felt, I mean, I didn't. You know how I am with money and gigs. I was like, oh, I'm getting fucking money tonight, But the kicker was I would get these extra gratuities. And my brother, I talked to him about it because he went on the first trip or a trip down there, and he said, yeah, he tried to get me in bed with him. He kept begging me to get into bed with him, and then I went on trips. So kind of,
your brother had. He was the first video helper.
Yeah, he was.
Went down for a weekend, and what happened?
He didn't get rebooked.
I remember the account. He said that said, "Hey, would you want to come sleep in the bed with me?" And then he said, "No, I'm going to sleep on the couch." And he said to us, like, "I'm not a fag," but he was older than you, considerably.
Here's how my brother pisses me off. He said when I was talking to him about it, and then he goes, he wondered why I came home with so much money and sweatsuits and stuff. He goes, I guess I didn't put out enough.
Your brother went down there for a weekend, and he tried to do the same shit.
Well.
He was older.
But
he was a few years older.
Yeah, and he said, hey, no, but he never told you. He said,
no, I never talked to anybody about all this shit. A lot of
Pat
this shit.
said, well, come sleep in the bed with me.
Yeah, he
and
begged
he's like,
him.
No way.
Yeah.
But he didn't warn you about it.
But my brother... No, yeah, kind of a dick. And I understand the origins of the extra level of resentment. Some of it was he wore my clothes and he had BO. And then he just put them back in my rotation, and then I went to school, and people go, wow, that dude has BO. So fuck that shit. But said
I'm expecting Andy to have any linear thought after 5 straight days of pre-Super Bowl party.
Yeah, come on, Ravens. Never mind, fuck them.
The Ravens have won by now.
Yeah, they have.
So this continued for a few years.
But here's what my brother said that pissed me off. He goes, I was talking to him on the phone, and he goes, I wondered why you had all that money and the gifts and stuff. And he goes, and then he said, I guess I didn't put out enough. And he's kind of religious. So I go, fuck you. If past did fuck you in the ass and come in your face, I wouldn't have fucking thought any less of you. But, that's how you talk to religious people.
Which is an indication of the kind of humiliation you're dealing with in this situation.
Yeah, I wish my brother would have been better at getting groomed.
Suggesting that you weren't man enough is the kind of the implication, I feel like. What, you couldn't have just said no? And it's like, you were young. How would you know?
There was years where I just really didn't even want to look at my dad, and those are years where he was taken away. And then when he came back, and then I started to build this resentment for him. So things were really never the same with us. Only in good moments here and there, nobody. Yeah, I didn't. It was it was all right, but it was strained, and it was all because of this one guy that was his random assigned roommate at the hospital in Palo Alto, California. It's like one guy. If he'd have been down the hall. Maybe I would have never met him or whatever, and I would have been happy. I mean, I would have been thrilled not to run into this dude.
It's 30 years later. is there any sense of retribution or
No, I felt there's moments where I felt really great about it because just seeing him.
the guy looked guilty
seeing
as
his
hell
fucking,
on the film.
Seeing him as he's no longer this dude, and I was this little dude. He's now old, gray, and broken. I broke him. Fuck him. And his fucking, his limpy, fucking clumsy technique.
Well, what I get out of this,
groom yourself before you wreck someone else.
Watching the videotape again, what I noticed for the first time is when he initially apologizes or says, "I have no comment. I don't have a lawyer here." His wife visibly, physically recoils into the cop as though she had some knowledge, like immediately thought, "Oh shit, I know this has happened." That's what if you watch it again.
Well, and also watching the
recognition,
watching the cop flip.
The cop
one side to the other in.
Cop says, "Do you have ID?" As soon as he sees me,
I don't know if it's on what we have, but there's an angle on the cop flinch. The cop goes, "You're free to go," and then the cop just kind of does that natural, "I'm going to pepper spray this pedophile," and the recoils and sits in his chair. Yeah, it feels pretty good. I mean, I gotta say, I like that shit a lot. Fuck it, yeah, it feels fucking great. But also, we knew it was gonna get litigious like Lance Armstrong. But what was your question? You started to get to that.
Do you feel any sense of closure? Or
I feel like I could go high five my dad's grave and go, that creepy fuck, you didn't know, but I fucked him over, and my dad would be pretty happy.
Well, there was that second level. We had the initial feeling of, oh my God, this is over. We actually got this guy here. We got it on tape. And that's why I showed up. I didn't want to go because that was the weekend the Cardinals were playing the Packers. It's a big football day at home, and I'm like, I can't call myself a friend and not show up for this. But Andy will fuck this up so badly if I'm not there.
I had
Andy had plans. He's like, I'm gonna go down there. I'm gonna put signs up. He's in a gated community.
I was gonna sign spin.
Yeah.
Dressed as a Boy Scout.
He's in a gated community. If I can't get in there, I Google Earth searched it and see there's a pond that I could swim across to get in.
It was like
there's alligators in those fucking.
No,
ponds.
it's a moat.
You had
it's a moat to his castle that I fucked
water
up.
landings like D-Day.
Well, I had a golf outfit because it was a golf course. I was jogger. I had a security outfit, a Boy Scout outfit, and I was going to sign spin and send him a picture saying, "Hey, faggot, you might want to come out and talk now."
My roommate gave us some Comcast gear.
Child
we were
faggot.
Go in
That's
as a
for
cable
Joe.
I know you
guy.
had all these fucking Ocean's 11 plans. Well, to get in there, and you just call him up and say, "Hey, I got some information about your daughter." He shows up. What's he going to say? I don't want to know anything about my daughter.
Do you want me to say it? I'll say it. I'm so fucking glad you showed up. I was there. You were the Ocean's 11.
Not all of us have books.
Whatever. Yeah. You were the last.
Not
piece.
all of us have books on baiting pedophiles. You know?
Yeah, that kind of
guy.
adds a creepy element to it, but that we do look like a couple of pranksters that just prey on the weak. Oh wait, that's them. Never mind.
But I was going to say there was initial closure, and then when they started with the injunction shit, okay, now we're going fucking legal.
And on top of that,
and then it got expensive.
We had Jay Kirschner.
Yeah,
and
on top of all of that, the injunction was served. You flew away from your daughter and your wife on Christmas Day while everyone was.
Yeah, we did a real abbreviated quick wrap of the Christmas
and you guys
presents.
stayed there.
That was our occupy the bar stool for 4 or 5 days of waiting, and it was the 31st, our last days there that we could possibly.
I have been with Andy pretty much since.
Don't say it like that.
Well, I've been hanging out with you almost every other day.
Yo, bro, I've been scarred.
Nothing like that.
Yeah, we rode together in the car.
But I've seen you. I can honestly, and this is answering your question earlier about closure. Your whole demeanor changed.
Andy, for many years. When do you remember when you Google searched him? 2-3 years ago?
2 or 3 years ago, and I found
because I remember you talked about it
to it, and I was like, oh wow, he does exist. He's not just a fantasy figure.
Yeah,
in a warped brain or whatever.
You found him because he went by his middle name, and then you found out
he did a couple. It looked like a couple name flips.
So he had changed his name, and you started talking about it, and I noticeably like, oh, Andy's on tilt. He's like
that's what. Yeah, you would think.
You were weirded out by. by the time you said, I'm going to go find him, I'm like, yeah, I've heard this for 2 years. When you had actually booked plane tickets,
Yeah,
I'm like,
hey.
oh, shit.
Hey, thanks, Sound Exchange. Yeah, that's where the money. It was a windfall from words I used to use. I talked to Jay about it after I found the guy, and Jay says,
2 years ago.
It so happened that the guy lived in the same town as our attorney.
yeah, the guy across the fire pit who stumbled as much as me says he lives in my town. And I says, this is convenient. Let's get together. Plan is to go hunt down the guy, my molester. Not hunt, I know where he lives. I want to get him on film. I want to sit him down. I want to talk to him about why he chose me. And I want other people who've been molested to go, oh yeah, I should look up my guy, because they're just sitting around and they've done their damage. They need to be brought out into the light. Just because you got away with it legally doesn't make it okay. And I want people who've been molested to kind of take the shame and plant it where it belongs on the person who victimized them.
And 2 years later, it actually happened. Now, Chris Castles, you live in Eugene, Oregon with Andy. How did you...
Separate places, bro. Come on.
How did you get on board with this?
He literally showed up at my house. I was sleeping. Woke up to, he doesn't call. So just the door knocking. I'm in my underpants, which makes it
Ooh, fuck.
appropriate. And
I guess I looked
I
away.
said, "Come in." And he smokes my pot while I get dressed.
Whoa, that's illegal.
And then he just started unloading, but I go, stop. When it hit me, it was so early in the morning I couldn't respond.
But
to
I
him.
did it because I knew he could film, not because I found him interesting or romantically hot.
But I said, stop, Andy. I go, just let me get some lights and a camera set up, and just let's do this on film. And
Ooh,
I
shit! Again.
I didn't say, and like most of our conversations, I literally just listened for 4 hours of footage. You sat there for 4 hours.
4 fucking
and
hours
it was
in
like
one
I was
sitting.
a therapist.
Wait,
I was like a therapist. I literally just when he would come to a standstill, I would ask him the next question. And you told me pretty much every detail. It was hard. I even
started jerking
I
off.
teared up a little bit.
He started jerking
It was-
off halfway into
intense.
it.
It was really intense. I like I said, I teared up a little bit. There was times where it was like it was so.
I was
intense.
teared up watching that fucking footage, I'll
Yeah.
be honest.
I hope
But
you-
my serotonin is so dipped from fucking 5 days of partying.
I hope you're not talking about pre-cum yoke.
So then I initially was like, after we filmed, I was like, Kickstarter. Have you heard of it? Of course, Andy's a Luddite. For those of you who know Andy, he can even
Dodgeball.
He couldn't sign
It's
into his
dodgeball,
own
isn't it?
Yahoo Mail account.
I know. He was a writer for the Man Show and couldn't turn on a laptop.
Yeah, he couldn't. Yeah, exactly.
But I could do the lap talk.
All the planning, for the most part, was done by Andy, and it was ridiculous.
No,
and you and Andy with your Comcast fucking...
Oh, yeah.
We're going to pretend we're cable guys, and we're going to sneak in.
Doug, do you remember when the guy said no comment? Andy dumped into Matlock cross-examination mode and got him to admit 6 or 7 things just right in a row.
I just wanted to talk to you about, I'm doing a documentary about our relationship, how you got to know my dad at the hospital, and how you used that to have me come down and visit you and go on excursions, and then the
Do you want to
underwear
talk about what
modeling.
happened? Do you want to talk about what happened with Andy?
I'm sorry?
Do you want to talk about what happened between you and Andy?
No.
You don't? Why?
Jay liked
Well,
that.
now, this was interesting. Andy kept saying you molested me, and the guy didn't deny it. And that's actually...
In Florida and most places, it's an admission. You can introduce it into court. Like if I say, hey, you effed my mother, and you say, no, fuck you, and you hit me, that's okay. You're supposed to do that. And if you don't do it, then the fact that you didn't do it is admissible.
So your mother got
Not
banged,
necessarily the punching part.
Did you know my mother?
That's funny shit.
When you see the footage, there's no way that you can think anything other than this guy is fucking horribly
He's got
guilty.
a
including
Unless
his
you're a
wife
rep-
and the
on
cops.
his
Unless you're a reporter
forehead.
from the Register
I've never
Guard.
seen anybody that guilty, and I represent these people for a living.
Yeah, he's...
Our lawyer was so happy
I'm telling
to
you, he touched
represent
my
us.
dick
He's like,
a lot.
usually I have to defend these people. Are you kidding? I love this.
I want to talk. well, there's two things I wanted to say, but Doug, we both had yellow legal pads because we were wearing black suits and we had, shit.
I was wearing a fucking leisure suit.
No, you were wearing that black suit.
The men in
No,
black,
black,
and black.
we were in
stuff.
black.
Oh, in court. Yeah. I blacked up for court.
Yeah.
So let's cut to a close. And
I will say this though.
Andy wanted to bust your balls about the joke you tried to fucking
Yeah, the
Toastmaster joke to open the fucking trial. Well,
Yeah.
I should have been watching the Dolphins game.
Yeah,
but instead,
but
and clink, the fucking court is silent. How does it feel to die as a lawyer?
Hey, Doug,
Do what
Doug,
you know. Is what I learned from
Did you
that.
feel like you were also a judge in the courtroom and we were both Judge and Jay?
Our guy versus your guy.
Yeah. Their guy was taller and better looking.
It gave me a
offense.
he was tall. He was tall, dark, and handsome. Their lawyer.
When it comes to brain power, he's the lesser Rooney. That's what I say about that.
Now we're fighting the injunction in court, and our attorney says if you have anything you want to add in, write it down on a piece of paper. Don't talk. Just slide it to me. Don't emote. Don't you prepped us. You woodshedded us for court. So we're kind of panicky. Like if we get called to the stage, we're not used to performing sober.
Yeah,
It was not your comfort zone.
Oh no.
yeah. There's that.
And
Well, didn't.
He wouldn't have wanted to testify.
all right, we're
I
gonna
don't
have to
think.
bleep that name a
Oh, I
thousand
thought we-
times until this
liver
documentary comes out.
the faggot with them shoes. Okay.
Oh yeah, no, we'll leave that alone. But at one point,
The guy didn't look comfortable either, is what I was trying to say.
the molester, he has a Filipino wife who has a weak grasp of the language. But
they've been together a while, so.
he showed up alone.
In court, yeah, he showed up like
No
a
one.
corpse,
He had nobody
like a
with
corpse
him.
at a funeral.
When you told, it came up in the courtroom that you used this in your act, that you were molested.
The lesser
And you
Rooney
saw
brought
the
this up?
Judge recoil, like, how is that funny? And that's when I wrote down.
Roseanne Barr.
Roseanne Barr, like she talked about her molestation very publicly, and she's a comedian to give a frame of reference, so the
reputable
judge
comedian.
could
Hey, fuck
wrap
you.
his head around how
right here.
okay, funny and molested. All right, you get the two things.
Yeah.
I don't think he knew who she was.
Really? I don't know. How can you not
How
know
could,
Roseanne?
hey, he's from Georgia and
That's like
she's a
not
fat
knowing Bill
chick. How could he
Cosby.
not know? How could he not know? He's just not looking hard enough.
You know, you said nobody was there on their side. There actually was. Rooney. the
Rooney,
senior
senior
was there.
Rooney was watching his son fail in court and going, "Oh, there's all that fucking
the
money
Ro-
I pissed
by the
away
way,
on his
the-
education."
yeah, Rooney-
going down the drain.
Yeah.
All right,
Rooney,
sorry, Rooney.
Yeah, Rooney is the
Rooney.
other attorneys. This fucking podcast
Sorry,
is
there you go.
spiraling out of
All right.
control, ladies and gentlemen. But we don't have a podcast.
Oh, really? This is just
You
bullshit.
know what? Maybe that's the name of my podcast. Is I don't really have a podcast.
I was in the elevator talking to somebody, and that was a fucking podcast.
There you go. More with Andy Andrist on the next podcast, and maybe some of the other characters creeping around this Super Bowl
No
party.
witnesses allowed in this court.
AndyAndrist.net. God knows if this fucking tape will ever see the light of day. Stay tuned for part 2.